Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Scheich. I'm a mentor with the Tri-County chapter of SCORE. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer business mentors and is dedicated to helping small businesses. SCORE is a nonprofit organization and is a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. SCORE provides a wide range of services to the new and existing business owners. These things include activities such as free mentoring, webinars, and courses on demand. We have a library of online resources, and when it's safe to do so, we're going to get back to hosting local live events, things such as workshops and roundtable discussions. This session is hosted by Tri-County SCORE, but is also in participation with the SCORE of Bucks County, SCORE Montgomery County, SCORE Chester and Delaware counties, and also SCORE Berks and Schuylkill counties. Each of the chapters has a website where you can go and request a mentor, find out information on local and upcoming national workshops. You can browse the library of resources or obtain information on how to become a SCORE mentor. For today's session, we are going to be using the Q&A session. Actually, if you have questions, use the Q&A function to submit any questions that you have. We will be hosting an additional workshop next Tuesday, January 19th at 11 a.m. For additional updates from the SBA. That should be available for registration later today. I would encourage each person on the line to be an advocate for themselves. Follow the information on the SBA website. If you have questions, reach out and contact your local SCORE office, and then we can funnel those questions if not, and work with the SBA to get you answers on those questions. We're very pleased today to have Kim Stout and Sonia Smith from the Eastern PA District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration, who will be talking about the Economic Relief Bill and the programs that are currently available for the small businesses. And again, if you do have any questions, use your Q&A function to submit those questions. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Kim at this time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. I appreciate the introduction and the comments. Please, as we move forward, definitely reach out to your local SCORE chapter. As we learned throughout 2020, information comes out very quickly, and we're here to share the information that is currently available as of today. But more information is forthcoming. Make sure you do your due diligence, as Brad mentioned. Stay up to date with information on the SBA.gov website and reach out to your SCORE chapters. We work very closely with our mentors to assist our small businesses, and this is the time to make sure that you're staying in touch with them. So the Small Business Administration is our small business, is an agency that supports our small businesses as they start, grow, expand, and recover. And as my co-worker, Sonia Smith, who's on the call with us today, the two of us completely understand in 2020, we have been so focused on recovery and supporting our small businesses during this time. As you see there, all this information that we're going to share with you is on our SBA website, sba.gov. You can use the /PPP or you can use the /coronavirus. As any information is released, it goes to the SBA website. So feel free to check us out, join us, get onto the website as often as possible to get the latest information. Today, we're going to cover some of the information that has been released so far through the Economic Aid Act. That's going to include our Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. Please note that this information reflects information that has been available and released as January 8th. Everything is current as of today, but we will say over and over again that additional information will be coming in the upcoming days and weeks. We talked a little bit about our SCORE partners. We appreciate the number of chapters that are involved with this workshop this morning. We do want to get out information as soon as it is available to support you guys as small business owners. You can go to SCORE.org, put in your zip code, and find the chapter that's closest to you. Reach out to them so that they can help you better understand what's available to you, and additional webinars and trainings to help sustain and keep your business viable during this time. We also fund our small business development centers. There are 16 of them across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You can go to the sba.gov/local-assistance to find out what center is closest to you. We also support our women's business centers in Eastern Pennsylvania. We have 2 of them. One is in Philadelphia, the Women's Business Enterprise Center, and we have our Women's Business Center at Assets in Lancaster. If you're joining us from Western Pennsylvania for some reason today, we have 2 WBCs in Western Pennsylvania, and you can find them on that same SBA website. If you are a veteran, we do have our Veterans Business Outreach Centers that support our veterans for additional support as they work through the pandemic and their small business. Many of you are probably already aware of the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This continues to be available to our small businesses. Originally, when the pandemic started and there was a federal disaster declaration, it was to end on December 31st, 2020. With the passing of the Economic Aid Act, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and you may hear me say EIDL occasionally, it's the same thing. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan stays open and applications continue to be accepted through the end of 2021. This does have, it does have the dependability of the availability of funds, but it is open and continues to do so. Our small businesses, which include the small agricultural and aquacultural businesses, are available to apply for this, or are eligible to apply for this. With this particular SBA disaster loan product, we are allowing nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, and houses of worship to also apply for this. Typically with SBA loans, those types of businesses are excluded, but in times of disaster, we do open up our funding programs to include nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and houses of worship. This is also a time that we open up loan programs for owners of rental properties. So if you currently own a rental property and you have yet to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you can do so. If you are a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, you are also able to apply for the loan. The loans do qualify for up to $2 million. However, with the CARES Act and the Economic Aid Act, there has been a limitation of $150,000. The Office of Disaster Assistance is monitoring that. So those of you who may have applied, the maximum loan is $150,000. Those of you who have not applied yet, that's what we're seeing so far. So please understand that this is a loan. It does have a term of 30 years. And for small businesses, the interest rate is 3.75%. For nonprofits, it's 2.75%. So that is fixed over the 30 years. If you decide to pay the Economic Injury Disaster Loan off prior to the 30 years, there's not going to be a penalty of prepayment. This is a working capital loan. You can use it for almost any legitimate business purpose, to help you pay your bills because you haven't been able to do so because of the COVID-19 pandemic disaster. It's not to expand your business. It's not to relocate. It is to be focused on working capital so that you can use it to pay your debts, pay payroll, and other bills that you haven't been able to. With this particular loan, there is no real estate collateral required. We are only requiring collateral of loans over $25,000. A blanket UCC-1 will be filed against your business collateral if you have a loan over $25,000. We do ask for a personal guarantee for loans that are over $200,000. If you have an existing SBA disaster loan that was not due to COVID, let's say Hurricane Sandy, flooding that has occurred in Pennsylvania, etc., you still do qualify for the economic injury disaster loan. Please understand that if you have already applied, you cannot reapply. This is for those who have yet to apply. On there, you'll see the link that you can go to the current application. It doesn't take long. There's probably 10, 15, 20 questions about your small businesses, mostly contact information. If you haven't applied yet, please pay attention to what you're inputting into that application. Don't rush through it. What we've seen over the past months is that economic injury disaster loan approvals have been delayed because the wrong business account information, bank account information is incorrect. You haven't inputted the right EIN number. You put personal accounts instead of business bank accounts. There's things that hold up the approval of the application. So you want to make sure you take the time, read through the application, submit the correct information so that you can get through the application approval process in a timely manner. At the district office at Eastern Pennsylvania or any of our district offices, we do not have access to the Office of Disaster Assistance systems. So if you have questions in regards to your loan application, you do need to call SBA customer service at 800-659-2955. You can also email them at disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. So with the repeal of the economic injury disaster loan advance deduction, SBA is no longer deducting the EIDL advances from forgiveness payments that were remitted to the Paycheck Protection Program. So this is a change with the Economic Aid Act. Prior to this information being released, if you had both the economic injury disaster loan and the Paycheck Protection Program loan, when you submit it for forgiveness, you had to put in what you received as the economic injury disaster loan advance. And you had to submit that on your forgiveness application. This is no longer required. For loans where SBA remitted a forgiveness payment to the PPP lender that was reduced by the EIDL advance, SBA will automatically remit a reconciliation payment to the Paycheck Protection Program lender for the previously deducted EIDL advance amount plus interest through the remittance date. So if you have put your application in for forgiveness and you had submitted what you got for the advance and that was deducted from your forgiveness application, the lender that you worked with is going to be working with SBA to reconcile things. It's not going to happen overnight. We're in the process of putting things together and it will be worked out for you. So you will be working with your lender and checking with your lender on the status. The Paycheck Protection Program lender is going to be responsible for notifying you, the borrower, of payment. The lender is also going to be responsible for re-amortizing the loan and notifying you of the amount of the next payment due or advising the borrower that the loan has been paid in full, whichever is applicable. If the amount remitted by SBA to the PPP lender exceeds the remaining principal balance of the PPP loan, because you made a payment on the loan, the lender, the Paycheck Protection Program lender, must remit the excess amount, including accrued interest paid by the borrower, to the borrower. So now we're going to move on to our Paycheck Protection Program for the first draw updates. With the Economic Aid Act, we are rolling out the Paycheck Protection Program again. But we are initially going to launch the Paycheck Protection Program through our community financial institutions, and this is going to be focused on individuals, small businesses that did not apply for the Paycheck Protection Program the first time it was available. So last year in 2020, if you applied for the Paycheck Protection Program and received funding, you need to hold off. This is currently open for those who did not apply. And right now, it's only through our financial institutions, which include, our community financial institutions, which include our community development financial institutions, our CDFIs, the minority deposit institutions, certified development companies, and SBA microlenders. If you are looking for the institutions that fit this category, you can go to sba.gov/PA and look at our resource guide. We have a list of our lenders in our resource guide. That's available on our website. It's very easy to find on our homepage. Our SBA lender match will be directing any of our borrower inquiries to our mission-based lenders. So if you are on sba.gov/lendermatch and submit a request through that program, it is initially going to go right to our mission-based lenders. The Paycheck Protection Program will be open to all participating lenders shortly thereafter. So currently, as we speak, it is focused on the community financial institutions, and then within time, our other lenders will be able to offer the program to you. This program is going to be open until the end of March, so March 31st, 2021. So you can apply for the program until the end of March. The Paycheck Protection Program participating lenders are most likely going to include our SBA 7A existing lenders. It's also open to our federally insured depository institutions, our FDICs, our federally insured credit unions, and eligible non-bank lenders or farm credit systems. We do have a list of our participating lenders online. I believe that SCORE sent this presentation out to those that registered today. You can go to sba.gov as well to look, but I would advise that you talk to the banking institution that you have a relationship with to see if they're offering the program. Contact them to see if this is going to be available through the lending institution that you do have a relationship with. The loan eligibility is listed there. Small businesses, together with their affiliates, that have 500 or fewer employees. So we're focusing on small businesses that have 500 or less employees. This does include our sole proprietors, our independent contractors, and our self-employed individuals. It is also open to nonprofit organizations with a 501c3 or 501c19. You should be able to check on your entity structure if you have questions, your tax returns, things like that, to see if you fall into those categories if you're unsure. Our Paycheck Protection Program second draw, this is going to be a change. So with the second draw, that's going to be for individuals who already received a Paycheck Protection Program loan. If you are looking to do a second loan, that eligibility number changes to 300 employees or less. Other entities that are included as eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program include our housing cooperatives, the 50C6 organizations, and marketing destination organizations with no more than 300 employees. Entities that have more than 500 employees that are in the accommodation and food sector, that is the NAICS code 72, so the North American Industry Classification System code. You are eligible, your eligibility changes to 300 employees. So you have to check if you fall into that NAICS code. You know, you have to understand that the maximum employees is 300. Entities must comply with size standards, eligible criteria, and certain limitations. So what we do have on our website is the interim final rule on SBA.gov that clearly works through the size standards, eligibility criteria, etc. And you can go onto a search engine, pull up NAICS, and find your code if you have questions. For anybody who's looking to apply for the first round of Paycheck Protection Program, again, this is if you haven't applied for the Paycheck Protection Program prior, the application is available online, and it's SBA Form 2843. And if you go to sba.gov/coronavirus or PPP, it is up there on the website for you to take a look at. This stays the same. The eligible covered loan expenses, the majority of them stay the same. You must use at least 60% of the PPP funds for payroll cost. You are still able to use it for mortgage interest. You're still able to use a portion of it for rent and utilities. The newest one listed there is the expanded new expenses in that bullet point. You can use it for worker protection costs related to COVID-19. You can use it for uninsured property damage costs caused by looting or vandalism during 2020, and certain supplier costs and operation expenditures. Again, if you pull up the interim final rule on the SBA website, each of those is defined. So it will give you additional information if you have questions as to what that covers. The borrower can select a covered period between 8 weeks and 24 weeks after disbursement. So initially, when the Paycheck Protection Program came out last April, you had to use it over an 8-week period. And that 8-week period started at time of disbursement. You can select that covered period at any time between an 8 and 24 week period after disbursement. So that is a change. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit now about the second draw. So this is for individual small businesses that have applied for the Paycheck Protection Program in 2020, and they're looking for additional assistance now since the pandemic has continued to affect our small businesses. Eligible borrowers who previously received your first draw, you may apply for a second PPP loan if you have spent all of the money from the first draw for the eligible uses. You know, well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You can apply for a second one. You have to make sure that before you have the disbursement of the second PPP draw, the first draw has to be dispersed, or I'm sorry, used up. So if you are, let's just, for example, if you're applying today for the first round of PPP and you use it over 8 weeks and you want a second draw, as long as the program is still open, like I said, it's closing March 31st, you can apply for that second draw, but you have to make sure that you have used all the proceeds from the first loan. For those of you who have applied for PPP in 2020, you used all of the proceeds. When the second draw becomes available, you may go ahead and apply for a second round. There are some requirements that go with this. The maximum draw is $2 million. And the loan terms are going to be the same as the first PPP draw. So loan terms, and I believe we have a slide coming up that shows that, was 5 years. So the PPP loan terms are up to 5 years. You have to have 300 employees or less. So that is a change for the second draw. It's for small businesses that are eligible with 300 employees or less. You have incurred a docketable reduction of at least 25% of gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. So you have to be able to show that you had a loss of 25% to be eligible for the second draw. The application for the second draw of Paycheck Protection Program is also available on our SBA.gov website. Again, if you go to sba.gov/coronavirus, you can either put in the search engine or just scroll down. The application is now available. The second draw amount calculation is similar to the first round. It's 2.5 times the average monthly payroll cost for 2019 or 2020. For borrowers in the accommodation and food services, and again, this is with a particular NAICS code, you can actually apply for 3.5 times the average monthly payroll cost in 2019 or 2020. Just go back here for a second. So just so those of you that are listening today, the PPP second draw is not currently open. We're waiting for further guidance from the agency, but at this point in time, those of you who are on the phone and listening and you have not applied for the Paycheck Protection Program, the first round is open, and you can try and you can look for a community financial institution to take your application, or you can wait until it opens for all of our lenders. Okay. So for the Economic Aid Act, there are some paycheck protection forgiveness updates that was passed with this legislation. With the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, as I mentioned earlier, the advances will no longer be deducted from the Paycheck Protection Program forgiveness. Loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and eligible expenses. That's the same. You have to at least spend 60% of your proceeds on payroll costs. That stays the same. And you have to continue to maintain employee and compensation levels. SBA is developing a simplified forgiveness application for loans under $150,000. We do not have that available. We're waiting for further guidance. Once it is available, we will make sure that it is on the SBA.gov website. The other good news is that we are working with TriCounty SCORE to offer this webinar again next week on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So any additional information that is released between now and then, we will certainly put that together and share it with you next Tuesday as well. And again, just a final reminder as to what the Paycheck Protection Program loan terms were and are. Maximum loan, that changes actually for your second draw. The interest rate is 1%. With the payments of the Paycheck Protection Program, to date, the SBA remits the forgiveness amount to the borrower's lender. You're going to work with your lender for forgiveness, and you have to submit that that forgiveness application with your lender. So the first payment is deferred to the date that the SBA remits the forgiveness amount to the borrower's lender, or 10 months after the end of the borrower's loan forgiveness covered period, if the borrower does not apply for forgiveness. The PPP loans have a maturity of 5 years. There is no collateral requirements. We are not asking for a personal guarantee. and there are no fees, the borrower or the lender fees, neither of those are payable to SBA. And this program will continue through March 31st, 2021. We appreciate your time today. I know that we probably have some questions that are popping up. Sonia and I are available to answer questions. We do want to note again that more information will be forthcoming over the next week or weeks. And you can go to sba.gov/coronavirus for updates. The other thing that I suggest that you do is go to sba.gov/updates or follow us on Twitter. Whenever we have information that comes out, the first way that we handle that is to get that out through our email updates so that our small businesses can know what to expect. So we do suggest that you sign up for those updates or you follow us on Twitter. At this time, I'm just going to ask Sonia if there's anything that she would like to add, and then we'll handle some questions.
No, there's nothing. I want to add, there's one question I want to answer because I said I was going to answer it live in error instead of typing an answer. So the question is, I'm a sole prop with a dozen independent contractors I pay monthly. Will I be able to apply for this round of PPP? As you've listened to Kim's presentation, independent contractors are able to apply for their own PPP loan. So you as a sole prop will not be counting independent contractors when you calculate your payroll because independent contractors are not employees. So I hope that answers that question. Another question that I have is, does that mean the $1,000 EIDL I have to report when I applied and didn't get a loan needs to be put on the forgiveness of the first PPP? I don't understand what that question is, but just to reiterate what Kim said, that if you received an EIDL advance, the EIDL advance is not counted against your forgiveness. So the EIDL advance is now an EIDL advance. Is there any way that we can listen to this presentation again? I believe SCORE, are you guys recording this?
We are recording this, and then we will be able to provide a link to the recording for the participants in today's session, if that's okay with the SBA. Great,
thank you. And just remember, as the second slide of this PowerPoint stated, information is being updated and changed. So if you listen in a week or in a month, there may be different information and more information. So we always ask that you go to either sba.gov/PPP or sba.gov/coronavirus to make sure that you've got the latest and greatest and newest information on all of our programs. And of course, as Kim mentioned, be sure to follow us on Twitter and also sign up for our emails. And of course, one-on-one counseling is available with our SCORE counselors that are hosting us today to help you determine the amount of your PPP loan, to help you determine exactly how you're able to spend the funds and things like that. We really encourage you for your one-on-one questions that are specific to your business to schedule a consulting appointment with a SCORE counselor. That is our host today.
Yeah, and we also mentioned that next Tuesday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be offering this webinar again. And we worked with Tri-County SCORE to do that on purpose because we do know that information is coming out frequently, and we want to make sure that it gets to our small businesses as soon as possible. So, you know, you can listen to this presentation, but we do encourage you to join us again next week as well. Okay, so Sonia, do you want to have us just go through some of these questions since we do have a few more minutes that we can cover?
Sure, absolutely. And we did have some questions on how do we get a copy of the slides. SCORE, will you be sending out the presentation to the attendees, or will this be on your website?
We will attach a copy to the follow-up email
Okay.
to the participants. And they should have that later this afternoon.
Okay, great. All right, so Sonia, I don't know if you're in the same spot that I am for questions, but this one has a question about home-based businesses for sole proprietors. Do you see that one?
Yes.
Okay, so let's read it. I'll read it out loud and then we can answer it together. With all due respect, these pages information do not answer questions for home-based businesses for sole proprietors. So as a sole proprietor, if you have payroll and you have proof of payroll, you should be eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program. In the interim final rule on our website, it does help sole proprietors calculate and show what evidence of documentation they need to prove payroll. Anything else you wanted to add, Sonia?
No, that was it. And again, if you are still confused, again, please schedule a one-on-one consultation with a SCORE counselor to help answer your question. And again, the consultations with our SCORE counselors are at no cost to you.
Okay. So I'll read this one and then you answer, and if I have anything to add, I'll add to it. So as a sole proprietor, payroll basically consists of transferring earned income into my personal bank accounts. Is this acceptable use of funds? So I know the IFR does talk about sole proprietors and what they need as proof of income and, you know, documentation for it. So if you have tax returns that show that you received payroll for 2019, you have proof of payroll to start your calculation. Then if you get the Paycheck Protection Program loan, you have to show where the money went and documentation of how you paid yourself. And bank account statements are approved in the IFR. Anything else, Sonia?
No, thank you for answering that one.
I just got done reading the IFR before this presentation. Again and again. How are 300 employees calculated?
If you have any affiliates, you need to count those employees also. The only NAICS codes that are not included on that is if you have a NAICS code beginning with 72, or if you're a news organization with a NAICS code starting with 511110 or 5151. But otherwise, it is the actual number of employees. Heads.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I do know the IFR is really good about showing different ways to calculate depending on the type of entity that you are. So you'll hear me say that over and over again. It is, you know, it's 82 pages, but if you use it as a PDF and hit find, it will help you find those things very easily for yourself. Okay, so here's one. I'm a sole proprietor who received the initial PPP loan. I don't pay myself a salary, so I don't show a disbursement. I file a K-1. Am I eligible for a second draw? So with the second draw, there are some requirements. Where is that? You know, the most notable one is that you have to have a reduction of at least 25% in gross receipts with comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. So with the information that we have, I'm going to recommend that you look at the second draw requirements, you know, to know if you have a loss or not. Do you agree or disagree with any of that, Sonia?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, so, okay. Is one still eligible for the Paycheck Protection Loan if unemployment benefits were received last year, if the unemployment benefit period is over? So I think we need additional information. Did you receive a Paycheck Protection Loan last year and then applied for unemployment? Is this your first round of PPP? What you need to know mostly is that you cannot double dip. So we need to dig a little deeper on that. And I would suggest either working with a SCORE counselor or reading the IFR or sending your question to SCORE so that we can better answer it with additional information.
I agree with that one. And the next one is similar. Can we still apply for PPP as an independent contractor if we were on PUA, but that expired?
Yeah, I mean, for calculations of PPP, you can look at your 2019 income. So I definitely think we need additional information to answer those officially. Does a Schedule C sole proprietor with employees, but not himself on payroll, need to apply twice as a business owner and once as an employer?
No, you only apply once.
When does the forgiveness application need to be in? Can we wait until Simple App is ready?
You have 10 months from the end of your forgiveness covered period to submit a forgiveness application to your lender.
Okay. Does the first PPP have to be forgiven before applying for the second draw?
No, but in the application for the second draw PPP, you will certify that you have expended all of the first draw PPP funds for eligible expenses.
Yeah, and that's exactly what slide I have up currently. If the initial idle advance was less than 10,000, how do we now get the difference?
SBA is working on providing us with the information and the processes and the details on that. So we're not addressing idle advance questions at this time.
More information to come. All right, I know you are directing people to the IFR Economic Aid Act, but can you please confirm the following? If sole proprietor or Schedule C net profit for a business owners is zero, would they not be eligible for PPP because they don't have any payroll? That one, yeah, I would say I think we need to have more information. I mean, you have to have proof of payroll. Are there other ways, other options that you have? I think that we need to dig a little bit deeper into that one. So we would need more information.
Exactly. I think that would be a good one for you to make an appointment with a SCORE counselor to determine what your specific business requirements are.
Sorry, I missed you. We're signed up for the updates. Oh, where you sign up for the updates. Okay, I will put that up on that slide. You can go to sba.gov/updates. You can also follow us on Twitter at SBA_Eastern PA. For the second round of PPP, is the time frame for using the funds 8 or 24 weeks or 8 to 24 weeks?
You
so
can
it's not a.
Any. Oops. Go ahead, Kim.
Go ahead.
You can select anything from 8 to 24 weeks, whatever works best for your business.
Okay. I'm an LLC and the only employee. How do I calculate my salary? There's actually examples in the IFR online. You do need to have proof of income. Using your tax returns from 2019 would be helpful. But there are pages on the IFR that sets examples up for you to calculate. If you need additional assistance with that, Again, Sonia and I will say it over and over again, please reach out to a SCORE mentor and they'll be happy to help you with understanding those items. My cafe opened in September 2019. When comparing 2019 quarterly revenue to 2020 quarterly revenue, can I use fourth quarter 2019 revenue as my base for 2020? We're still waiting on, I guess we're still waiting on additional information for the second round of PPP. So are you looking at your first round or second round?
I'm assuming that this is the second round. And if you go to the IFR, the PPP second draw IFR on page 21 of that, it tells you how you calculated if you were not in business during the first or second quarter of 2019, if you were not in business during the first, second, or third quarter of 2019, if you were not in business during 2019, but you were in operation on February 15th of 2020. So all of the details and examples are in the IFR on the PPP second draw, and it begins on page 21. And again, if you need further guidance after that on your specific situation, SCORE can certainly work with you on a one-on-one consultation.
My first EIDL loan was approved, but I never received it because I did not reply in time because I was waiting for answers on repayment. I did, however, receive the advance. Can I reapply for the EIDL loan?
You need to contact the Office of Disaster Customer Service, and there is an email and a phone number for that. And Kim, can you just scroll back to that slide?
Yes.
And while Kim is doing that, is there any expected relief changes for the 7A program? SBA is in the midst of doing their processes and the forms and the information for us. So stay tuned. At this time, we can't address that until we have all of the information.
Okay. So the next question I have in front of me, I don't know if it's the same for you, Sonia, is I will have to submit $1,000 to SBA for forgiveness. I think we need more information on that.
Right.
Q4 on form 3245 asks about EIDL loans up to April 2020. If I got it after, do I report it there?
No, because there was a time period that you were able to refi your EIDL loan, and it's a specific time period, so just follow the directions. If you got an EIDL loan after that, then do it accordingly.
What proof can be used for a sole prop for the 60% payroll paid requirement? That actually is addressed in the IFR as well. You know, bank statements, use of funds, you know, that is spelled out. And I wish if I had another screen, I would pull up the page exactly. Do you want to move to the next question and I'll pull that one up, Sonia?
Yeah, absolutely. Is EIDL advance still deducted from first PPP loan? No, it is not. If I reserve the PPP loan, can I qualify for unemployment? Unemployment is through the Pennsylvania, so we really cannot offer any advice or guidance in regards to unemployment. May I share this information with the PA Brewers Guild I belong to? Absolutely. Share this information with anyone that may find this helpful, any small businesses. That's great. Let them know about other webinars and programs that we have available to help small businesses through this process.
Okay. So I did find, going back to the sole proprietor, they're looking for bank records, documentation. So if you're a sole proprietor and you're paying yourself, they're looking for documentation such as bank records.
Can I get an EIDL and a PPP as a sole prop? You can apply for both.
All right, I think we're past that one. Are there still grants available? Not at this time. With the Economic Aid Act, you know, again, do your due diligence, pay attention to what's happening, but at this point, no.
Again,
is there a deadline for when you apply? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. We did mention that. We'll do it again. You have 10 months from the end of your covered period to apply with your lender for the PPP forgiveness.
Yep, there it is. Okay. This may be irrelevant, but I received an EIDL in 2020, but no advance. I was eligible for 2000. I did not follow up, and I was told that I did not request an advance, which is certainly not my intent. I was told that there was no way to receive an advance for the EIDL already received. Is that true? Well, at one point in time when the CARES Act appropriations ran out, the advances were no longer available. We're waiting for additional guidance from SBA and Treasury to know what next steps are. I am a landlord, and when my tenant pays rent, I take my payroll out before I make cash deposit for the bank. How do I prove payroll? You might want to talk to your accountant about that. You want to, you know, to be eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, you have to have proof of payroll, and it might be on your tax returns. You might want to have a conversation with your accountant or work with a SCORE mentor to see if there's other avenues that you have for proof of payroll. Not sure what this is, so I'm going to skip that. Can a lender not accept a Schedule C? I comply with the IFR page 16 requirements. My bank would only take payroll docs for my employee, not my Schedule C.
You need to work with your lenders. If they require additional information, then you need to work with them.
Yeah, and if your tax returns aren't showing your payroll for your employees, you know, how are you paying your employees? There has to be documentation to back up your request.
And Kim, at this time, I'm going to sign off because we have another webinar that we're doing at 12 o'clock.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to take the next two questions. Any questions that were unanswered, I would say feel free to reach out to SCORE. They can filter the questions if there's something that they're not able to assist you with. We have advised the chapters to how to get in touch with us so that we can prioritize and get these answers to you. So did my sole prop need to be established prior to 2020 to be eligible for PPP? To be eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program and for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you had to be in business prior to February 15th, 2020. And last question, if a negative line, if I show a negative line in 31 for 2019 taxes, though I got my first PPP, can I get a second? My calculation was 2 times my monthly income. Without additional information, if you received the first round of PPP and qualified for it and showed proof of income and were able to receive it, look at the requirements for the second round. Remember, with the second round, there is a requirement that your business has a 25% loss in at least one quarter. So there are some additional items that need to be looked at for the second round. And unfortunately with that, I'm going to close out. I believe the questions that have come through will be here in Zoom for the chapter to pull off. And if they need help with assisting with answers, I'll be happy to do so. We do appreciate you joining us today. You know, information, like I said, is coming out fast and furious, and updates will be forthcoming in upcoming weeks. I strongly encourage you to join us again next Tuesday at 11 o'clock and frequently visit sba.gov/coronavirus to get anything that's new and available for our small businesses, because new information will be provided soon. With that, Brad, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you so much, Kim and Sonia, for presenting this today. It's great information for the small business owners, and appreciate your assistance. For those participants, look forward to in your inboxes for the slides and for a link to the recordings, and also the information on the January 19th session that will be hosted. And then if you do have questions, reach out to your local SCORE chapter, and hopefully a mentor can be able to help you and assist you with your questions.